Live from New York, this is the Harvey Hour. My name is Nathan Harvey, and as always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. How you doing today? On a what was it? Today's Tuesday. On a Tuesday. How you doing today?
I'm doing good. Enjoyed the football over the weekend and the games last night. 2 games on Monday night.
Right.
Thursday football, Sunday football all day long, and then Monday night football, 2 games.
2 games.
Lots of football.
Yeah. So it was an eventful week. We got a lot planned. We have a jam-packed episode here. I don't know. A lot of stuff has happened so far over the course of 2 NFL weeks, and it seems like Monday Night Football may have a curse to it. The past 3 times, some horrific and unfortunate injury has happened each of the past 3 Monday Night Footballs. So Monday Night Football at this point may be cursed. Just like last year's Thursday Night Football, where every single game was a disaster. Monday night might be filled with injuries, unfortunately. But let's talk about one of the later, which is the later Monday night game, which is the Steelers and the Browns. So the Steelers come up with a big win against the Cleveland Browns. Nick Chubb is probably like 99.9% out for the entire season, reportedly with multiple ligament tears, which is unfortunate. It was a low hit by Minkah Fitzpatrick. His leg, basically, if you didn't see it, his leg was basically perpendicular to the rest of his body. Not a pleasant sight. ABC didn't even want to put it on live TV. That's how bad it was, and you could hear the crowd groaning and moaning when they replayed it within the stadium. But Deshaun Watson did not look too hot in week 2 with his now technically second season with the Browns. Both defenses were on fire all game. I want to know overall, what was your reaction to the second Monday night game last night?
Well, I watched the Browns and the Steelers most of the evening, and I thought that was basically a defensive battle. Right? The Steelers, the first play of the game, intercepted a pass for a touchdown. Pick 6, and then they T.J. Watt, who really was responsible a lot for the first interception for a touchdown, then he rushed in there and there was a fumble and he picked it up and ran in for a touchdown. So he had a fantastic game. I thought he played great. And then the Browns, they had some good defensive plays as well, they had interceptions. And, looking at the stats, Deshaun Watson, 22 of 40, 235 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception, 13 fantasy points. Pickett, only 15 of 30, but for 222 yards, a TD and an interception as well. I mean, most of his yards were on just one play to Pickens, that long touchdown pass. That was a beautiful play. And Pickens, 4 receptions, 127 yards. Wow, really something. But I think the difference in the game, I don't know actually why the Browns lost. The Browns lost this game because of the turnovers, the fumble and the interception for a touchdown. Otherwise, they would have won this game. They controlled the ball. They had almost 200 yards rushing. The Steelers only have 55, right?
Yeah.
They had 408 yards of offense, and the Browns and the Steelers only had 255. So, they moved the ball up and down the field. They couldn't get it into the end zone. And even though Chubb got hurt, Ford came in, and he had 106 yards rushing. So the Browns' running game was doing very well, very well.
Right.
So Amari Cooper had 7 receptions for 90 yards. So I think it was the turnovers, the Browns' turnovers that made the difference there, and those happened in the first half. The Steelers eked out enough points and, and kept the Browns out of the end zone, even though they marched the ball up and down the field and controlled the game with the running game.
I'll say this. Both defenses surprised me because it could just be that, San Francisco is really that good and the Steelers couldn't stop nobody. Or it's the fact that Deshaun Watson isn't who people were hoping that he would turn into, like his old, his former Houston Texans self. But both defenses played out of their minds. A lot of pressure. Here's one takeaway, at least from the Steelers' part. The offense is not good. We saw in the preseason, and I was actually nervous because I talked about in my first standings predictions. How do I decide what to do with Pittsburgh? And I may have even said it on the second standings prediction. What do I do with Pittsburgh? Do I think they'll be a good team? I have no idea. They were a huge question mark. And through the preseason, we saw they were a very dominant team. It could have been because they played a lot of their starters in the preseason when everyone else was playing backups and third stringers. Kenny Pickett and George Pickens were cooking, and then we get into the season, and they have the fewest first downs in the entire league through 2 weeks. We had a QBR last night combined of 28, which is not good. It's not even close to being good. Kenny Pickett had the worst QBR at 12.3. But here's a little positivity here. When it comes to, Nick Chubb being down, and Nick Chubb, they put it up there, has the third most yards per attempt, yards per carry, at the running back position in NFL history with 500 or more carries. That seemed to be a massive hit. And then you take a look at how great the Steelers' defense was, and your backup running back, Jerome Ford, put up 106 yards on 16 carries, outpacing. He had 6.6 yards a carry compared to Nick Chubb's 6.4. I mean, it looked great. I mean, you have something there. Now, the loss of Nick Chubb, yes, it's massive. However, you have Jerome Ford, and he's not too bad. He did not, he didn't just crumble against the ferocious Steelers defense.
Mine's pretty good, too.
Which
right?
one?
The Browns. The Browns' offensive line were opening the holes. Almost 200
blocking,
yards
yes.
of rushing.
No, run blocking, yes.
Yeah, the passing, not so great,
Pass
right?
blocking,
a
not
lot
so
of,
much.
Watson's under a lot of pressure.
Nearly 50% of his dropbacks, Watson was under pressure. It was pretty bad. So I don't know if I thought the Browns would be much worse than they were. I was wrong. I didn't know how to pick the Steelers this season, so I can't technically be wrong there. But I'll say this. The offense on both sides needs to get fixed. There was a huge, ice pick into the hearts of that Browns offense when Nick Chubb got hurt. You could tell. But then Jerome Ford gave you some life. And then Deshaun Watson fumbled the game away. I think he had 3 turnovers himself. It was pretty bad. He had a pick and 2 fumbles, and both fumbles were at inopportune times, to say the least. So I think both offenses need to get fixed a little bit, and now the Browns offense is on a huge course correction now with Nick Chubb being out. But I saw a video on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it, that there was someone recording all the fans in the stands. They were chanting to fire Matt Canada, who is the Steelers' offensive coordinator. And hey, they're right. They are absolutely. You have a lot of talent. I know Deontay Johnson's out right now, but Najee Harris, you have Kenny Pickett, you have George Pickens, you have Freiermuth. You have a bunch of pretty good players. I think George Pickens may become one of the great wide receivers in the league so far.
Agree.
He can make incredible catches. You have all this talent. You have the fewest amount of first downs in the league, and you looked, honestly, this both offenses, but especially the Steelers the past 2 weeks, have looked anemic. I mean, this has been very, very bad for a team that, at that level of talent, you should not be putting up those numbers. Now, what do they do moving forward? Now, I think this, I said it last season, I was so close. Mike Tomlin may not get another winning season. This will not be another winning season, I don't think.
You don't think so?
I really don't think so. Because their division, I think the Bengals make course. We'll talk about it a little bit later, but I think the Bengals could course correct in a positive light, although we'll talk about their season may already be over.
They started out bad last year, too.
Their season, who knows? The Ravens look really good. Zay Flowers looks like a hit. That was expected. OBJ is made of glass bones and paper skin. He's been dealing with a few injuries already. And then, the Steelers and the Browns, they seem to be interesting, but you know what? We'll have to wait and see, obviously. So that AFC North is more interesting than I thought. I thought it would be a blowaway. Bengals, Ravens, obvious. Then the Steelers and Browns, they'll be around that 7-8 wins at the very most. But both teams look good, at least defensively. Both teams. And then TJ Watt just became the Steelers' leading sack leader with 29.5 sacks. I believe that's the number. And he's only, I think, 28 years old, which is absolutely insane. The previous record holder, I believe, was James Harrison. So there you go. You're taking over an all-time great defensive player at only 28 years old, which is incredibly impressive. So my reaction
I picked him as the defensive player of the year this year.
You picked Nick Bosa, not TJ Watt.
I made a mistake.
Hey, I still like Micah Parsons.
Oh yeah, he's a beast too.
He's incredible. So I still like my pick. But my reaction is more so incredibly unfortunate for Browns fans losing a phenomenal running back. However, Jerome Ford was perfectly fine. He outgained and had more yards per carry
Well, we'll
than
see.
Nick Chubb.
It's a small sample. Right?
Obviously, no, that is true. But against what that defense was doing, I mean, the defense couldn't stop. The defense just kept stopping the Browns' offense. Third and out, punt, forced turnover. So I would say, there's some hope. Your defense. I mean, here's the thing: Deshaun Watson needs to get better. I think that's the big thing. There's still a lot of rust, and I think everyone is expecting and hoping Deshaun Watson to get back into form. What's funny is that this isn't an injury thing. Deshaun Watson was never hurt. He was just away from the game, which that's interesting because there's nothing hindering his ability to play quarterback except the mental speed of it. So now Deshaun Watson needs to catch himself up to speed, but it's been, we're coming up to, obviously at the end of the year it'll be about a year, but he's been with this team now for technically 2 seasons. So
he clearly didn't do anything outstanding last night. He did nothing really outstanding for a guy who got a $230 million guaranteed contract.
Right.
He really was not. He wasn't a superstar by any means last night.
He did not play up to his contract.
Yeah.
And that's an added pressure to Deshaun Watson is the fact that you got probably the worst deal in NFL history just based on talent expectations and then the value you're putting out since you came back. I mean, the value is... I think the
value was not there.
Absolutely
it was terrible
not.
last year.
Yeah, no. I mean, you play, 6 games?
I mean, they did win the first game. They won their first game against Cincinnati. And he played pretty well in that game.
Yes, but I'll say this. Here's the thing. A lot with the preseason, I said this, week when we talked about Browns-Bengals. The preseason generally you take with a grain of salt. However, there may be some gems that you could be like, okay, I could see that being a consistent factor. And I saw it all the way in the Hall of Fame game that you really should take nothing from. And I said, this team can run the football. They ran for, again, nearly 200 yards. I think week 1, they might have ran for I think it's either 170 or something like that. They ran for 198. 5.7 yards per attempt, which is insane. So, even Pierre Strong got in there. Pierre Strong got a rushing touchdown. Former New England Patriot. So, both offenses, I think, need a lot of work. The defense, though, stellar. Those are the Steelers and the Browns hotspot.
Yeah.
So
I have one more comment on this game.
Go for it.
I would say the Browns uniforms are one of the ugliest uniforms I've ever seen.
Serious?
I hated that uniform.
Why?
I mean, when they have that beautiful orange helmet, which they've ruined by changing the color to some sort of flat orange from what it used to be. The old Browns helmet was one of the best in the NFL. Look at it now. They had a white helmet with a brown and orange stripe on it. Come on.
I like it.
Where'd they get that from?
I like it.
Is that something they're going to wear regularly, or they just did this Monday night? I don't understand it.
It's vintage.
And the white, they're the Browns. How come there's so much white there? White doesn't have anything to do with brown.
I personally, I like it. It's the same thing.
I didn't like it. I didn't even know what team it was when I first turned on. So who is that? Some college team?
It's the same thing.
Looks
with the
like
Bengals,
a college uniform.
The Bengals have that all white jersey combo, and that looks beautiful. I don't know. We have different. Here's the thing. You had the Browns on your favorite.
The Bengals never wear anything but the orange helmet.
Well, now
they always have the orange helmet.
Brought in the white helmet.
Maybe the orange helmet with the white uniform might be okay, but the white helmet with the orange stripe down the middle, I think looked crazy.
I like it. We have different opinions.
They deserve to lose with that uniform on.
We have different opinions. Very, very interesting. I actually like the uniform. It's a nice change. It's nice, vibrant white. But
we'll see if they wear it more on the road. Is that the one they're going to wear on the road?
I think it was just like vintage week. I think because the Patriots
vintage. They never had a uniform that looked like that.
They had like a little patch. I think it said like 1946 or something.
Oh, really?
Like that.
That's the uniform they had then.
You could sort of see it at the bottom right there. Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
Who knows? All right, let's get into our next topic. So unfortunately, week 2 for the Patriots comes down to another 4th down play. So. America's team, as I think I'm going to be calling it now, because 6 Super Bowl wins, probably the best franchise in NFL history. So it came down to a 4th and 4 play for the New England Patriots. Mac Jones throws to Mike Gesicki, who does not win a one-on-one coverage break. Instead, flips it to Cole Strange, and this time
that was a first down.
Instead of Cole Strange pushing it, throwing it back to another player for it to be returned, just like the Raiders game. Instead, Cole Strange did his best impersonation.
Yeah, but look, he makes it. It's a first down.
It was very interesting to see
how come they didn't. Did they show what's the replay show on that play?
It was very interesting to see exactly, if the ball did get off. It was a weird reversal, I think.
They could have given him the first down there.
It was unfortunate.
They really could have given him the first down. Come on.
It was unfortunate.
It was so close. Why not give him the first down? Why did they not give him the first down? They're playing at home.
Right.
They got one of the toughest schedules in the NFL.
Yeah.
Give him a break. One break. Come on, a first down.
You can't give him a break there. Now,
they don't give him a break. They hate Bill Belichick.
Here's the thing. I don't know. Usually when you overturn something, and we're going to get into the question in a second, but usually when you overturn something, there has to be, concrete proof in the other direction. Even the announcers, they were questioning exactly where the ball was from that other angle. I couldn't even really see the ball. So if the refs saw something that we didn't, that is what it is. But that ball was incredibly close.
I think they should have called. Why didn't they just call the first down and then review it?
That's what they did. Right. They called the first down.
Oh, they did call the first down.
And they reviewed it, yeah.
And then the review turned it over?
The review turned it over, yeah.
That comes from New York, or they do it?
I don't know where it comes from.
Yeah, I think it's from New York.
Hey, let's get into this question, though. So, once again, second week in a row, the Patriots failed to convert on a fourth down late in the game, driving the last drive of the game.
On that one.
And now the Dolphins moved to 2-0, look like probably the most dominant team in the AFC, if not in the entire NFL, with their being first in basically all offensive statistics. They move atop the AFC East and take that crown right now from the Bills, who have had it for a while. They may be able to keep that up this season, but as of right now, they're at the top there, while the Bills still are, dealing with that Week 1 loss against the Jets. So I don't know what you saw from Sunday's game. Are the Patriots in trouble?
I'm thinking maybe. I think they lost this game because of the turnovers again, right? Mac Jones threw an interception there late in the game, right down. It was almost he threw it. They intercepted it right near the goal line there. I mean, it was right to the guy. That was bad. That turnover really hurt them a lot. And then the other thing that I think hurt them a lot was the running game of Miami. Miami had 145 yards on the ground, right? From the guy, what's his name, Mostert?
Raheem Mostert, yeah.
Yeah, Mostert. He's no world beater. I don't think that Tua was really the reason. He had 244 yards passing. He was 21 of 30, which is pretty good, right? But they only converted 10 third downs. I guess they didn't have many third downs because they were driving the ball right down the field,
right,
all the time. And the Patriots, come on, 3 points in 3 quarters. 3 quarters of the game, they only scored 3 points. Then they scored 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Then it was too late. They got to get their offense going, and the defense can't be out on the field 3 quarters of the game either. Well, actually, the time of possession was pretty even, about 30 minutes each. So, it's a game the Patriots could have won. Again, they could have won last week, too. They muffed it with Booty not getting his foot down there. If that had been Parker, maybe he would have gotten it down. Now he's playing. Booty was not even, did he dress? I don't think so.
Booty was a healthy scratch.
He was a healthy scratch, yeah. Well, Douglas was in there, right?
There's something interesting about Douglas that the reporters found that I don't know if you know, but I'll talk about it in my rant.
So the Patriots had played well enough to win in both weeks. They got to get it going earlier in the game. Last week they turned the ball over twice in the first part of the game, and they did get it going in the second quarter. And this week they did nothing in the first quarter again. They didn't do anything really for 3 quarters of the game. They only had 3 points. They got to get it going sooner. They got to come out hot. I mean, when back in Brady's day, they always scored on the first drive. First drive, they took the ball right down the field, and they set the tone. That's what the Patriots got to do, and we'll see. They play the Jets this week, right?
I believe they play the Jets this week. Yeah.
Well, that'll be interesting. I mean, Brady. Belichick has always had Zach Wilson's number. That's for sure. 2 touchdowns,
7. Or it might be 2 touchdowns, 9 picks. I think.
9 picks.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the Jets later on.
Oh yeah. Friday's going to be a good show.
That's a must-win for the Patriots. I must say, if they go 0-3,
And you lose to Zach Wilson.
And you lose to Zach Wilson. Then they're in deep trouble then.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they got to find a way to win this game.
Because in the game after that, you go play at Dallas.
Yeah.
They're going to get killed.
Yeah.
They're going to get killed. I'll say this. The Patriots against Miami had no 20-plus yard plays. Couldn't get the ball down the field. The largest play.
Max Jones's yards per pass, 4.3.
It was bad. It
Terrible.
was bad.
I mean, he has a great high percentage, 31 of 42, but he's throwing the ball like 4 yards every time. That's pretty easy to complete those.
Yeah,
right?
no, he had I have the number here. I'll bring it up in a second, but they had one play longer than 14 yards, which was a Mac Jones scramble in the fourth quarter, a Mac Jones run in the fourth quarter. In the entire game, they averaged 4.1 yards a play. Here's a little bit of context here. So in 2022, the worst team in the NFL, the Houston Texans, they averaged 4.7 yards per play. So at the current moment, at least in this game, the Patriots were less efficient than the worst team in football last season.
It stinks.
Their offensive line is abysmal. So
they can't open a hole for a runner.
That is
right?
true.
There's no running game. They have no running game. That makes it tougher for Mac Jones.
They are the worst run blocking team in the NFL. They are 27th in pass block. Also, so talking about Demario Douglas here. So after that Demario Douglas fumble extremely early in the game, he didn't play a single offensive snap after that. He immediately got put in Belichick's doghouse. And Belichick, he got asked that a lot in the post-game conference. And he shoved it off like, oh yeah, we played everybody. We played our skill players. And he's like, and then they were honing in on Belichick about the situation. And one reporter made like the statement like, you do realize he never played another offensive snap. He's like, well, he caught punts. Like that changes, exactly what happened. No, I mean, I don't know what exactly this is, but to bench, he's a 6th round pick, made the roster. He's probably your most explosive player, like speed-wise, and to bench him?
No, but look who they have ahead of him, right? I mean, he's lucky he's been in there as much as he has.
He's the fastest wide receiver they probably have.
Okay,
right now.
But Parker is probably better than him, don't you think?
I really don't. I don't think he's that much better.
Okay, but Schuster?
He's terrible.
Oh, come on. Last year he had 960 yards
with
receiving.
Patrick Mahomes throwing and a competent offensive line, so Mahomes can get him the ball.
Okay, but that doesn't mean he's bad.
He's dealing with injuries.
Yeah, right?
He's injury prone.
But he was out there.
He was out there more than he was. Yeah.
And then you have what's his name? Kendrick Bourne. So those 3 receivers are going to be ahead of the rookies.
Yeah, well, I found it interesting that Booty was a healthy scratch, but that could be because
plus
Parker
Douglas had his chance. He fumbled the ball.
It was a bad fumble too. Yeah. So like I said before, they're the worst run blocking team in the National Football League. They are 27th in pass blocking. However, to put this on Mac Jones is like you're not watching. You're simply looking at the amount of points they scored and said, okay, they scored 17 against the Dolphins. They scored 20 against the Eagles. That's Mac Jones' fault. That just isn't even the case whatsoever. So Mac Jones, if we're talking about how bad the offensive line is, the offensive line is responsible for 90+% of Mac Jones' pressures this season so far. 90%. So that means, actually, I think it's more than that. Because I think, if I looked at the number correctly, the allowed pressures, actually I have it right here. That's fortunate. The allowed pressures for Mac Jones is actually way less than I thought. 6.3% of Mac Jones' 32 pressures is due to him just standing in the pocket and letting the pressure get to him. So that's like 94% of the pressure responsibility is on the offensive line. The offensive line is truly abysmal. He's the 2nd most pressure quarterback. He's the most blitzed and most hurried quarterback. So it doesn't even matter. And in this game, I have the number here. When he got blitzed, this is how bad the offensive line was at picking up a blitz or at least stopping it. The time to throw when Mac Jones was blitzed was 1.8 seconds. 1.8 seconds for a play to develop, for Mac Jones to find an open receiver and to get it to him. That is impossible for any quarterback. It doesn't matter if you're Brady, Mahomes, Burrow, Hurts, Joe Montana, Terry Brad. It doesn't matter. If you have basically 1.5 seconds to get the ball and throw it to an open guy when the play isn't even there, you have to have ESP and you have to be so in sync with your receiver. You basically have to be the same person thinking on the exact same wavelength. It's impossible to do. It is actually impossible to do. And not only that, Mac Jones under pressure, this is not also about him just crumbling under pressure and him faulting. He's the 6th highest rated passer when throwing under pressure. Hell, I wonder, I'm surprised it's not higher because basically most of his throws are under pressure. So to say this is Mac Jones' fault is not fair to say.
Who's saying that? I'm not saying it.
Social media.
Oh, yeah?
Quote-unquote Patriots fans already, once again, as expected,
picking on Mac Jones.
Want Mac Jones to be gone after every little mistake, but that's how it is. I decided to look at the film because I saw on the replay, and we brought up to beginning to start this topic, that 4th and 4 play, and at the very top of the screen on the broadcast, you could see something very interesting, and I was waiting for the all-22 to come out, and this is exactly what I found. So I want you to look. The bottom of the screen is close. It would be sort of a jump ball that could potentially be a catch for Kendrick Bourne. But I want you to look at the top of the screen, and sorry for the listeners, Spotify listeners, YouTube.com if you want to see this exact play, but it's on the 4th and 4 at the top of the screen. That is Devontae Parker. If he just had a little bit more time, Devontae Parker was wide open for a first down and more. We'll replay it again. Let's replay it. So look at the top screen there.
Yeah.
Devontae Parker breaks he's wide open for 3 or 4 yards. And that's shocking because you talked about the interception. I don't hate that play. I hate the way Devontae Parker took that route. And it shouldn't surprise me because Devontae Parker, I think the past 3 seasons, has had the lowest amount of separation in the entire NFL. So he can't separate from nobody. He took the worst route because it wasn't like a straight shot. I forgot who the cornerback was. Right from the jump, he had the upper hand because Devontae Parker didn't seal the inside. He went to the outside toward the sideline, so the margin of error is very, very small. Like to finally succeed that pass, very, very small chance. I don't hate the play. It's a throw-up play. And by the way, to say that cost the game is also a little bit unfair. That was late in the 3rd quarter. You still had a whole another quarter of play. The defense, they couldn't stop the run. They really couldn't stop the run. So there's a lot of things factored in here, but I really think combined with the tough schedule, that's the big thing. Their schedule is, you see some places where it's the 3rd hardest in the league. Some say that it's the hardest in the NFL. Just based on the schedule alone, it's going to be very difficult for the Patriots to, come out on top of a lot of these games. But it's not like they're actually getting smothered by these great teams. They've been in these past 2 games. Their defense has showed up surprisingly, and I got to be honest here. I bashed Christian Gonzalez last week. He didn't look that good. He looked phenomenal in this game. I mean, he smoked Tyreek Hill. I was nervous because Jonathan Jones is usually the one that does a great job against Tyreek Hill. Christian Gonzalez shut him down, basically. And he also had that beautiful, you can see it on the all-22, Jabril Peppers and Christian Gonzalez swapped places. So Jabril Peppers was that, the cornerback, and he had Christian Gonzalez be the deep safety. And that was the interception play. Christian Gonzalez played that beautifully. He basically forced, Tua says, hey, test me. Tyreek's right behind me. Throw it to him, and he got that interception. So I got to hand it to Christian Gonzalez. He played phenomenal in this game. And you know what? When you play well, I will give you your flowers. But if you get smoked, regardless of who it is, it's unfortunate that first game you ever played in the NFL in a real game was A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, but you did kind of get smoked. So, I'm going to call you out. But when you go up against, the fastest receiver in pads and lock him down, there you go. I'll give you your flowers. So, trouble, I don't know. Unfortunate outcomes in 2 straight games, yes. And
don't you think the Jets wins is a must-win for them? If they go
morally,
0-3,
morally, yeah.
You're 0-3, and then they're playing Dallas.
No, here's the thing. Dallas is going to kill them. I'm saying that Dallas will kill them. There is a 0% chance with that offensive line. Think about it.
But will Dallas be able to score much against the Patriots defense? I don't know.
I mean, think about what the Jets did to the Bills in week 1. I mean, the Bills don't have a bad defense at all.
Yeah, they don't have.
What about the Jets defense? We saw what the Jets did. Dallas put 30 on that defense. 30. And Sauce got cooked. Sauce was there were some bad misses by Sauce. He almost actually had a pick 6, but he dropped it. But I don't know. That Dallas defense, it's going to be scary. They're up against 2 really tough, actually 3 really tough defenses because the Saints, They have a very, very good defense. Surprisingly, very good defense this season.
The Saints are 2-0.
They are 2-0. Derek Carr, though, has not looked like I'd hoped he looked. So there's a chance you pull that one
Still
away as
getting
well.
used to the offense.
That is a fair assumption. So I don't know. It's going to be difficult to see whether or not the Patriots could come out on top in the clutch. But as of right now, I would say right now they are indeed
2
in
winnable
trouble.
games, and they lost them both.
Yeah, it is quite unfortunate. All right, coming up, Joe Burrow tweaked his calf late in the game against the Ravens this past Sunday. Should the Bengals hit that panic mode button? Also, Zach Wilson looked efficient against the Bills in Week 1. However, Week 2 was an entirely different story against the formidable Dallas Cowboys. And also, we wrap up the show with whether or not Danny Dimes will be dropping dimes against the 49ers on Thursday Night Football. A jam-packed show continues right after this.
Whether you're just discovering your voice or taking your show to the next level, you know what the world needs to hear. All you have to do is say it. With Spotify, set up your podcast. Your food podcast. Your mindfulness podcast. Your never thought you'd get this far podcast. And watch those sparks fly.
I put a picture of the comment.
Drop the episode anywhere people listen. And find out who they're cooking with. Where they're finding inner balance. And why they love your show. You're already a creator. Now you can create, connect, and get paid for your passion with one single free tool. Spotify for podcasters. Talk where the world listens.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
Welcome back to the Harvey Hour. My name's Nathan Harvey, and as always, I'm joined alongside my dad, Stephen Harvey. Let's get into our next topic of today's show. So, for the second straight week, we're talking about the Cincinnati Bengals. This time, Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens took care of business against Cincinnati, winning 27-24. Lamar looked good. Lamar looked efficient. Passing game was on point. He had a beautiful deep ball, but I think it was even more spectacular catch by Zay Flowers. So I want to know, based on what you saw for the first 2 weeks for the Bengals and Joe Burrow, and the fact that Burrow, as he said, he tweaked his calf already again, were you more surprised about, the Ravens or the Bengals, and is it time for the Bengals to, maybe hit the panic button?
What happened to Odell Beckham? He only had 3 catches, right?
Injuries.
So he got hurt?
Yeah.
29 yards. His pass was 15 yards. That's not Odell Beckham. Was he out of the game early on? I don't know. I was looking at that stat. I didn't see the game, so I was wondering what happened to him. I mean, Nelson Aguilar was the leading receiver. We've seen him perform before. My God.
Former Patriot.
Yeah, it didn't play well for them. He only had 5 receptions for 63 yards, so they spread the ball around. I think Mark Andrews, right? He had 5 catches for 45 yards. So I thought Lamar played really well, right? He spread the ball around, and he had 237 yards, 24-33, 2 TDs, 26 fantasy points. But to me, the difference in this game was the rushing by Baltimore, right? They had 178 yards rushing to Bengals 66 yards. Mixon only had 59 yards for the Bengals. Burrow, he woke up a little bit from last week. It was horrible last week. He 222 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. Higgins had 8 receptions, 89 yards, 2 TDs, so he played well, right? The rest of them, I don't know. I think the Bengals they started out poor last year, right? But if Burrow is going to have this nagging injury for a while, I do think the Bengals have something to worry about, because that wasn't the case last year. They just started out poor. Now they've got him with the potential nagging injury. I think that is worrisome. Who's that backup quarterback? I don't know.
Well, I think his name is Jake Browning. It's something Browning. Yeah.
Nobody. Right?
So I'll say this to answer the question of who was I more surprised by. I was much more surprised by the Ravens than I were the Bengals. Because if you take a look at the injury report, the Ravens were out some key pieces. Two seriously important defensive backs, and Marcus Williams, the free safety, he was out. Marlon Humphrey, the cornerback, he was out. Then on offense, you're down two of your best starting offensive linemen in Tyler Lindenbaum and Ronnie Stanley. So I got to hand it to the Ravens here. To be this efficient in the pass game, to be this efficient in the run game, and also to play great defense, I got to hand it to the Ravens. Being out, some very, very key starters and still coming out with this win. When it comes to, maybe or maybe not hitting the panic button for the Bengals, I'm really tempted to hit that button because of the fact that the only reason why I might be a little bit hesitant to hit it is strictly because we were here last season. We were here when the Bengals were 0-2, and I said the Bengals won't make the playoffs. They have an 11.5, statistically, teams that start off 0-2 in the past, I think, 25 years have had a little bit better than 11% chance. I think it's 11.5% chance to make the playoffs. So I took the field, and I was wrong. The Bengals were a part of that 11.5% chance, last season. This season, it just seems different. And now because Joe Burrow didn't want to rest his calf that he injured in the offseason, I believe at the beginning of August, it's now up to it's really the fact that he re-aggravated it and could be out. He could miss time now at the heading towards the middle of the season, rather than being out maybe the first 2 weeks or so, and then, being healthy enough to continue the rest of the season. Now, he wasn't good enough to play in week 2. He said he re-aggravated it. Now he's not going to be near 100% for week 3 or week 4, which depending on, how their season ends up being, these could be win or go home games already in week 3. So I think it's very, very close to hitting that panic button because the Bengals defensively couldn't really stop anything. The Bengals offensively couldn't really do anything.
The Ravens, they look pretty good to me. Very formidable, particularly the balanced attack, right? Almost 200 yards on the ground, spread amongst 3 runners. Lamar Jackson had 54 yards. Edwards had 62 yards. Hill had 41 yards. So they spread it around, I think. And the receiving, too. Spread around to a bunch of receivers there.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's shocking is that it seems like it's a finally, but finally it seems like the Ravens have a runner that ran for more yards than Lamar Jackson. I mean, generally Lamar Jackson is their top runner. Yeah. So to have Gus Edwards did a really good job, 6.2 yards a carry and a touchdown, very, very impressive. They ran it. Well, how many? They ran it 37 times, which I think is pretty insane. However, with this Todd Monken offense, it's gonna be a beautiful blend. 33 pass attempts, 37 rush attempts. I mean, that's damn near 50-50, which is incredible. Yeah. Nelson Aguilar was efficient. 5 catches, 63 yards, a touchdown. Zay Flowers had that massive catch in damn near, I think, triple coverage. Great throw by Lamar, great catch by Zay Flowers. Odell, he's dealing with another injury again.
What's the injury?
Glass bones. I think it's some sort of leg injury again. So it's unfortunate. You pay a guy $18 million and he plays. He catches 3 balls on 4 pass attempts. So
no, if he's hurt, he can't be out there if he's hurt.
That is fair. I don't know. It's very, very impressive to see what the Ravens can do. I thought the Ravens may be a little bit worse this season, just based on. They should have been better. I just had a feeling that they'd be one of the teams that were very underwhelming. And let's just say I was, gracefully wrong in that regard. They are much better than I was thinking. And the Bengals, Joe Burrow, for me, was the number 2 quarterback heading into this season. He took a massive hit these first 2 weeks. Hasn't looked all that great. I mean, Jamar Chase, a top receiver in the league. A lot of people have him maybe top 3 or top 4. He's been rendered essentially useless in these first 2 weeks. T. Higgins had a great game. Like you said, 8 catches, 89 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I mean, I got to hand it. Wait, like I said, when people do well, I'll give them their roses. And right now, Jamar Chase does not deserve his because it has been an ugly sight.
Offensive Player of the Year this year.
That's right. You did have him as Offensive Player of the Year.
He hasn't done anything really yet.
Well, my pick is unfortunate because generally these awards, yes, while they're individual stats, winning games also help. So Justin Jefferson, for me, doesn't look too good for my Offensive Player of the Year. So I don't know. We're both in the weeds for that one, but
still early.
It is still very, very early. So I don't know. I gotta give it to the Ravens. They played very, very well. Lamar Jackson looked phenomenal. A lot of people say that he's going for his he's going for his second MVP. I don't think he's there yet. I still would put. Hey, here's the thing. Unpopular opinion, just based on the name, but look at the numbers. Tua right now, and you know the odds makers agree with me. Tua right now deserves to be MVP. He's past Mahomes, he's past Hurts, he's past everybody right now. He is the number one favorite to win MVP. Shocking. I want to since I mentioned MVP.
You know what? I think the wide receivers, excellent wide receivers, help the quarterback out a lot, right? Because you look at Miami's got great receivers, right? Waddle and Hill.
Yeah.
Those guys are elite. Right. And you look at and the reason that I feel more strongly about that this year than I have in the past is Baker Mayfield. Yeah. Right? He's throwing to Evans and Godwin. And look at his stats, man. He's doing great.
He threw over 300 yards.
Right.
And here's the big thing. No interceptions.
Yeah.
No interceptions. And I was actually just about to talk
Evans
about that.
Evans is having a career year.
He's having a great year.
He had a fantastic game this past weekend.
Yeah, he had a massive catch. It seemed like he was gassed at the end of that catch, but I'll say this. You brought up that game briefly, and I want to talk about that. So when I talked about MVP, right, 2 is the best, it's shocking. A lot of people said I was wrong. Justin Fields looks horrible. He looks absolutely abysmal. I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about, we'll look at the tape one day on Justin Fields so far through X amount of weeks. I mean, it seems like he feels like he has 10 seconds in the pocket, just casually dropping back, super slow. I mean, there was a play that was going around social media. He had 3 guys open. I think he saw every single one of them and then just decided to run into his own offensive line to take a sack. I mean, it's bad. So, yeah, shocking. Yeah, plus 2,000 odds for a reason. And it made no sense. It still doesn't make sense how entering this season he was, the most bet player to win MVP. I think it was more so that 1 in 2,000 shot that he gets MVP. But people make a lot of money off of that. All right, let's get into our second to last topic, or some people might call it the last topic of today's show. So Zach Wilson, after that great win, efficient win against the Bills in Week 1, sort of reverted to his old self with 3 interceptions, only 1 touchdown. However, it was against the Dallas Cowboys and that very, very dominant defense. However, because, we sort of have been talking about Zach Wilson in the past and how poor he's been and how, surprisingly the Jets still believe in him, how about we take a look at what Zach Wilson thought, how good his performance was in Week 2.
I thought I was seeing it well. Yeah, it was nice having a week to prepare, and, I thought I knew the scheme well. I thought I was seeing it well, getting through my progressions and reads, and, it's going to be something to go back and watch on film is to see why, we just couldn't get over the hump and keep some drives established and going, and so we're going to keep learning to get better.
Not only that, I'll also bring up some of the quotes that we've had. It seems like his teammates still have full faith in him. This was Garrett Wilson. From the outside looking in, it's easy to play the quarterback blame game. What about his head coach, Robert Saleh, who still has full faith in him? I thought he did a nice job. Obviously, late in the game, he had to force the ball to make something happen, and obviously, it didn't go our way. He did a really nice job in the pocket, extending plays, scrambling. He had a couple of nice off-schedule plays. It just wasn't good enough. So I want to know, should the Jets stick with Zach Wilson as their quarterback 1?
What's Saleh going to say? He's the only quarterback he's got. And Zach Wilson's not playing any better than he did last year, right? He didn't play well in the Dallas game. He threw 3 interceptions, right? He had 9 fantasy points. He had a poor game. And he threw, now he has, 4 interceptions in 2 games?
I believe
right?
so,
yeah. He had an interception in the first game. He did win that game. He played a lot better in the first one than he did against Dallas. I guess Dallas, maybe they're just world beaters this year. Could be. Their defense is really dominant. It seems like it's like just overwhelming, right? But that's the way the Bills started out last year, and then they kind of trickled off. But what's his name got hurt? Who's a Bills?
Damar Hamlin?
No, the other guy.
Von Miller.
Von Miller.
Gotcha.
Got hurt, and that hurt their defense. But if Micah Parsons stays healthy, wow, that defense looks like a world beater to me.
My defensive player of the year. So I was talking about this game with my friend because I said, you know what? On Tuesday we're going to talk about the Jets and how Zach Wilson played, and I was like, oh, it wasn't Zach Wilson's fault. The Dallas defense was so dominant. You can't put that on him. And while that is true, the Dallas defense did pressure him. I think about 50% of the time. May have been a little bit less, may have been a little bit more. I don't have the exact number in front of me. However, these interceptions, they were bad. Like, these were not on the Cowboys. These were on Zach Wilson. Here's the first one. This one's probably the worst one of them all. So, yes, he does get pressured up the middle and has to scramble to the right. But this is what we saw in the Patriots game. An interception directly. It's like he wasn't even looking at the defender. I think we have another angle on the all-22 here. Let's see if we can bring that up right after the end of this one. But, like, this one's bad. Bottom of your screen here. Like, that's bad. He isn't even open. I don't even know what Zach Wilson's exactly looking at, per se. So what about the next one? Here's another one. This one was sort of just a deep ball. Didn't really draw the safety away. This one, you could sort of say, it is what it is. Bad interception. It's sort of a throwaway ball. It is what it is.
It's a good punt.
It is a good punt. But what about this one? This one could have been a miscommunication, an off-target throw. I think they said it was a miscommunication. This one was bad. This one is just, unfortunate. And this is the all-22. The defender wasn't even on the screen, but the running back was. So
I would say, you know what? He hasn't learned much. In the first one, he just should have thrown the ball out of bounds.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He was being pressured badly. No one would have criticized him for throwing the ball out of bounds. Instead, he tried to force it in there, and they got intercepted. So I don't think he's learned a whole lot. I thought Aaron Rodgers was going to teach him a lot. I guess Aaron Rodgers wasn't there long enough to be able to impart any wisdom to Zach Wilson, because he seems to be the same old Zach to me.
Well, I think I heard somewhere they're like talking nearly every day or something like that. It seems like Rodgers' knowledge is not exactly rubbing off the way it maybe should with a first ballot Hall of Famer talking to you about how to play the position. What else was incredibly shocking was, and the Jets, at least on social media, were blowing up. Sauce Gardner deactivated his X/Twitter account. Breece Hall tweeted out 4 footballs, definitely in reference to the fact that he only had 4 carries in the game, which is shocking.
9 yards.
2.3 yards a carry. Yeah. However, Breece Hall is your best running back. Dalvin Cook, look, here's the thing. 4
runs, 7 yards.
Dalvin Cook has looked bad. He's looked slow. He's looked bad. Breece Hall is clearly the best running back out of every single running back the Jets have. I mean, the fact that Breece Hall, who's probably your most explosive, he's definitely your most explosive running back, but last year, it was him and Garrett Wilson who were pushing for that offensive rookie of the year. I mean, you got to give him more than 4 carries. You got to start something at least.
They have no confidence in their offensive line, obviously. They let Zach Wilson throw the ball.
Yeah, you threw it, 27 times, completed 12 of them for 170 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 picks. Yeah. Surprisingly, though, with the amount of pressure, only got sacked 3 times, which is, like I said, quite impressive. The defense, though, the defense had some trouble. The Jets defense did. The 255 yards passing for Dak Prescott, 134 rushing yards for the Cowboys.
How about CeeDee Lamb?
CeeDee Lamb, very, very good receiver.
143 yards receiving.
Yeah, no,
11 catches.
He's a very, very good receiver.
Yeah.
But regardless of what happens, I think there was some hope that the Jets defense, and I think I brought this up on Friday, that the Jets defense may be good enough to win them some games. I don't think that's the case anymore. I really don't think that's the case anymore. And I think it's realistic to say that this team probably could have been a 12-win team. And now, with one player being absent, in it being Aaron Rodgers, this team goes from 12 wins to maybe 8. Maybe 8. And that would be strictly defensive wins. Because Zach Wilson looked bad. He looked like the old Zach Wilson, kind of just slinging it. He looked okay through like 2 quarters, 2.5 quarters. But he can't go out and win you games. He can't, rally a team back to win games.
Well, they gave up on the run too soon, I think. They should have tried to run it more.
I mean, you're down by 20.
They know that Zach Wilson's going to throw 3 interceptions every game. Don't let him throw it very much, right?
That's fair.
And if they do, just let the short passes and give the ball to the running backs, because you do have 2 good ones, Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook.
Right.
Breece Hall and Dalvin Cook. I think those guys, they need to give them some chances. Give him some chances. I mean, Breece Hall, he had 4 carries for 9 yards, and his long was 9 yards. So 3 of them, he just stopped at the line of scrimmage. So I don't know. How about Tony Pollard? He had 72 yards on 25 carries, and Dallas had 134 yards rushing into 64 for the Jets.
Yeah.
Pretty big difference. Yeah.
So I don't have the schedule up for the viewers, but I'll read off some, like, think about this. The offensive line, we both thought, rightfully so, that the offensive line was a huge kryptonite regardless if Rodgers was in there or not. The offensive line was not good. And we saw it immediately from week 1. The offensive line would be a huge liability. Week 2, it was the same thing. So if we just take a look at a few of some really, really good defenses, the Patriots, they play next. The Chiefs are the game after that. The Broncos aren't bad. The Eagles. The Giants defense, they almost got shut down by Josh Dobbs. Don't love that. If they'll improve by week 8, so be it. The Chargers, on paper, like we've been saying, looks really good. However, Brandon Staley can't coach the defense for the life of him, so I'm not even including them. The Bills, the Bills defense, Dolphins defense, Miami's the Commanders defense has been actually pretty good. They're one of the highest graded pass rushers in the league. The Browns, the Patriots. I think that's what I list off. 11 teams with really good pass rushes. And if the Jets have that poor of an offensive line, hey, we could be seeing like a 6-win Jets team.
And they have Zach Wilson now as their quarterback. I think they're lucky if they win 7 games.
This could be a 6-7 win team. And that's...
They got a tough schedule. They have a hard schedule.
They do have a very, very hard schedule. Now, the question is, though, with Rodgers... he's trying to do this, miraculous surgery and be back by, be back by the Super Bowl, something like that. He's doing this.
Don't hurry. The team ain't gonna make the Super Bowl. I don't think you have to worry about that.
I completely agree with you there. But let's say Rodgers does come back, and I think he's got 2 years left on his. He did that.
He's coming back.
No,
he says
yeah.
He's coming back.
So he's coming back. Let's say he's got 2 more years left, right? The Jets don't necessarily need receivers. They don't need a running back. They don't need defense. You need an offensive line. So no matter where you are in the draft, because I think with where the Jets are going, they're going to be decently high in the draft. Get an offensive tackle. Get an offensive guard. Get something. Your 2 tackles suck. In this game alone, the lowest graded players offensively for the Jets. Let's see if I can bring it up. I believe it was their 2 tackles. And Mekhi Becton. Oh, no, sorry. Their lowest 3. The first one was their center, Connor McGovern. He was the lowest graded one. But, tied with him is Mekhi Becton, their right tackle, and Dwayne Brown, their left tackle. So if you talk about the Patriots having a bad offensive line, the Jets have an even worse offensive line. They are, well, at least not run blocking, or pass blocking. It's bad. So you got to work on that offensive line, especially now. You're going to have a 40-year-old quarterback next season who's going to turn 41 in December that season. You got to figure out how to get that offensive line right, because we could see another scenario where Rodgers goes down again. Or if anything, Rodgers is rendered ineffective because of the fact they have no offensive line. Because Dwayne Brown tried that chop block and Rodgers tore his Achilles. So you got to get a better offensive line. You got to get it's really as simple as that. What the Bucs did as soon as Brady got there, what'd they do? They drafted Tristan Wirfs, and he turned out to be an all-pro and looked phenomenal. You upgraded that offensive line. That's what the Bucs did as soon as Brady got there. It's what the Jets should have done if Rodgers got there. Dalvin,
you could be talking about the Patriots too. They need to be working on their offensive line too.
Here's the thing. Cole Strange. They were talking about the Patriots. I'll just quickly reference them. There was that one pitch play I saw right before the show, and I should have put it in the show. There was a pitch play where I forgot. I think it was to Ezekiel Elliott. Calvin Anderson looked like he didn't know what the hell was going on. He tried to block to the right. He couldn't see nobody. So the offensive line is bad. But the Jets so far, yeah, it's not pretty. It really is not pretty. And
they got to be worried.
A lot of people were hoping the defense could hold it in. I don't think they can get it done.
They weren't expecting this to happen.
Absolutely not. I mean, here's the thing. Even with Aaron Rodgers there, the offensive line still is terrible. And it was
Aaron
actually
Rodgers
worse than I thought
isn't going to have 3 interceptions in a game.
Correct. No,
right?
that is true. That is true. But also, here's the thing. We expected the offensive line to be, questionable to say the least. I didn't think it'd be this bad. I really didn't think it'd be this bad. So, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see exactly how the Jets do, but it does not look great. The light at the end of the tunnel, I think right now, is barely on. And honestly, I understand as teammates and as coaches to put confidence in your players. But at some point, just like the 49ers did with Trey Lance, you got to cut loose. In the case of this, though, you saw what Zach Wilson brings to the table. Trey Lance, you kind of did, but not really. In this case, you saw what he brought to the table. And so far, it's been bad. And now you're going against New England, where Zach Wilson has been abysmal, and you're praying you have a game like last season where it's 3-3 going into like the final 20 seconds or whatever. Except this time you're hoping that Marcus Jones doesn't return it back for a punt return touchdown to end the game. That's what you're hoping. So we'll have to wait and see this week. 1 p.m. game. Patriots at Jets. We'll definitely be breaking down that game on next Tuesday. All right, let's get into our final topic of today's show. It's time for some picks. This time we are picking it's Giants at 49ers. The spread moved a half point from yesterday in favor of the 49ers to minus 10.5. This is Thursday Night Football, 8:15 on Prime Video. Daniel Jones going against Brock Purdy and the 49ers, hoping to make magic happen, I would say, after this past weekend's performance, having a 95 PFF grading and being down by 20-0 entering the half, and somehow pulling that out and winning I think it was 31-28. So I guess I'll start. Who wins on Thursday? I think it's pretty obvious, and as a lot of people should have it. Let's read this up. I got the 49ers winning in a blowout. I have them covering. Now, here's the big thing. You don't want to pick double-digit point spreads. In this case, here's the thing. I literally see a 0% chance the Giants could pull this out. So I have the 49ers winning 35-14. Strictly because of the fact that we saw how bad the offensive line was for the Giants against the Cardinals. No, throw the Cowboys game away, because that was just a beatdown. I'm sorry, that was just bad. Against the Cardinals, Daniel Jones had problems getting off or staying on the field. So if you're having problems with the Cardinals and your defense is letting Josh Dobbs, look phenomenal, look like Michael Vick running around and making big time plays, then what are you gonna do against Brock Purdy, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, all these great talents? Christian McCaffrey, I almost forgot about him. My fault. And not only that, you look at your offensive line, who's been absolutely terrible. Like I said, against the Cardinals pass rush, you look bad. You put up 0 points and a half. For a game and a half, you gave up 60 points and scored 0, which is really bad. Now you're going up against probably the second best defense in the NFL with Nick Bosa back. You got Fred Warner. You got Tre'Davious Ward, whatever his name is. I think you got Hargrave as well. You have all these pieces on defense. And how are you going to stop them? How are you going to stop with a terrible offensive line? So I got the 49ers winning and dominating the Giants. It's unfortunate the Giants play the 49ers in prime time, but I do not see Daniel Jones dropping dimes on Thursday.
Okay, well, that's interesting, and you may be right. I have the 49ers winning as well, but I don't have them covering. Okay, because the Giants, they were horrible in the Dallas game, 4 quarters. In the Arizona game, they were horrible for 2 quarters, and then suddenly the light went on, and finally their season began, and they got it going in the second half against the Cardinals, and had the biggest comeback in Giants history, I believe, or at least going back as far as like 1940 or something, that they came back from being down 20 points. So I thought they looked. I was watching that game, and I thought they really looked good in the second half. I thought Daniel Jones looked like a quarterback that you could pay $40 million a year to, and Saquon Barkley played pretty well, but he got hurt, and that could be a problem. I don't know how badly his ankle is hurt. He sprained it, and he went over the sidelines and slammed his helmet into the ground. So he probably feels like he hurt it pretty bad. So he may not be even playing. So that's a factor, but. I think the Giants, they found something in that second half, and I think they'll be competitive against the 49ers on Thursday night, but I do see the 49ers winning the game 30-22.
So, there it is. I'll say this. We got some stuff brewing for hopefully Friday's episode of the Harvey Hour. We got something brewing. But, of course, we'll recap the Giants-49ers game. That should be interesting to watch. We'll also make our Week 3 picks. Harvey Hot Hand returns for another week. I'm currently 8-2, 2 straight weeks of being 4-1. I got very, very nervous in some of these games. I actually have the numbers here. The Falcons I almost went 5-0 for the second week in a row. If the Falcons, by the way, props to Desmond Ridder coming back from that. I mean, that game was over. I basically penciled in the Falcons' loss, but somehow the Falcons pulled out with that win. Falcons
are 2-0.
They're 2-0. I'm shocked. But it was this close. They won by 1. The point spread was 1.5. I needed one more point for me to cover. That close to being 5-0, just like the Vikings. But Cowboys, that was a given. Giants and Cardinals, I felt really good about it. I actually felt really even better, and I felt because I almost picked the Cardinals to win that game outright, but I thought the Giants may pull it out, and they did, but barely. Won by 3 points.
They cover. They didn't cover.
The Cardinals did, yeah.
The Giants were giving up.
They won by 3. The point spread was.
So they didn't cover.
The Giants didn't cover. The Cardinals did. The Buccaneers. What a game. What a game. Baker Mayfield. Hey, like I said, great for Baker Mayfield. So far, I've been 100% wrong. Maybe Baker has found a new home.
I think the wide receivers help him out a lot. The wide
Absolutely.
receivers are open.
Yeah.
They're open, man. They're open by a lot in some of those plays, and you just have to lob it out there to them, and then they're also fast.
Yeah.
They run. So having great wide receivers is a plus for a quarterback like Baker Mayfield.
It's kind of poetic justice, right? You look at the Browns in that offensive situation. It hasn't really improved. It kind of looks the same, if not a little bit worse. Deshaun Watson's been bad. And Baker Mayfield out here with Tampa, no one believes in him, at least me. 50% of the show doesn't believe in Baker.
No, I don't believe
and Baker's excelling.
I don't believe in Todd Bowles, and look what he's done. He's 2-0 now.
And the defense, although it was, to be fair, it was against the Bears. The Bears aren't a very good team.
Yeah. They got a soft schedule.
I mean, Shaq Barrett got I think it might have been a pick 6 off a screen pass. Like that's how bad the Bears offense is. They got picked. Justin Fields got picked off on a screen pass. I don't know. Well, I'm sure we'll talk about Justin Fields sometime later on the show. But for this episode of the Harvey Hour, this will be it. My name's Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. Catch us Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube to recap all of this beginning of Week 3. I think we may have a special guest coming on Friday, but obviously we'll have to wait and see. But for this one, my name's Nathan Harvey. That's my dad, Stephen Harvey. We're the Harvey Hour. Like I said, Friday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube.
Good night, Grandpa.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. Stay safe on public Wi-Fi. Get NordVPN's special offer and encrypt your internet connection. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.